Hi, and welcome to another episode of Utah Crossbow Hunter, where today we are going to be talking about a major controversy between a bolt and an arrow. So let's find out what the difference is today. So stand by. Okay, so we're going to talk about the controversy about the difference between the bolt and an arrow. So hopefully by the time we get done with this, you guys will have the same opinion as I do. But first, if you like these videos, hit that subscribe button. That's right there. It's right there in the corner somewhere. Right there. Yeah, right there. Just go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Ring that bell. And give me a thumbs up. So let's get started with today's show. So first of all, let me get my camera out of the way here. So you can see what we're talking about. All right, here we go. All right. So, as you see up here, bolt versus arrow. Okay, what is the difference? As an archer, you already know the compound bows shoot arrows. But what does a crossbow shoot? Are there arrows too? Are there bolts? It depends on who you ask, according to this here. But most crossbow manufacturers agree that today's modern crossbows are shooting arrows. Interesting. And the term is interchangeable, typically speaking. Crossbow bolts are generally shorter in length, 16 to 22 inches. And they have no. They say they have no stabilizing vanes near the back of the arrow. I disagree with that, but they do. And you can see right here, what are those? Stabilizers. Um, so, and they're projectiles, not interchangeable with the compound bows or crossbows. So we already know that, because the compound bows are obviously a little bit longer. Okay, so let's dive a little bit deeper into stuff here. All right, crossbow bolt characteristics. They're typically 16 to 22 inches in length. The most common length is being 20 inches. I think that's what most people shoot, is a 20-inch arrow. They have four distinctive parts: the shaft, the fletching, the broadhead, and the nock. They're a little bit heavier than the traditional arrows. They are shorter than those used in archery. They're well, I can't even pronounce that word. Anyways, there are stabilized vanes in the back. The bolts are heavier. Crossbow bolts are identical to arrows. They shoot from the compound bow with the speeds of 400 feet per second. Okay. Bolt length should strictly be it's not exceeded by the manufacturer's recommendation. So if your manufacturer says only shoot 18-inch cross bolts, then do it. Oh, I'm going to say arrows. The more rigid, the less flexibility. They have a devoted fletching or feathers to steer guide. They are as heavy. They are heavy, and they leave the rail. So the kinetic energy is what it peters off fast. So just like with anything, you shoot it, your speed's going to, as further it goes, the speed's going to drop. The shorter distance, the speed's going to probably not drop as fast. So the kinetic energy is the same thing. By the time it hits an animal, could be dropped off. Remember, at longer yardage. Shorter yardage is probably going to be pretty close. Arrow tips. Now, the typical arrow for the compound bow is typically 27 to 32 inches. And again, they have four distinctive parts: the shaft, the fletching, the broadhead, and the nock. And they're lighter. So, Don't that sound about the same as a uh, the crossbow arrow? Same stuff. So what do experts think? If it's under 16 inches, it's a bolt, says Philip Bedmar, directing marketing manager, marketing for 10-point crossbows. 16 inches or more is considered an arrow. We shoot 22 inches out of a 10-point. Typically, either term is correct, says Sam Colson, director of marketing for Bowtech Archery. Most people can call them bolts, but more and more crossbow enthusiasts seem to be calling them arrows. There's been much deliberation on which is a bolt or an arrow. What makes a bolt? What makes an arrow? Okay. Persistent claims crossbows shoot bolts, not arrows. They have little to do with archery. Originally, the crossbow was invented to implement it was as a warring military purpose. Okay. They're quite different from what we call a crossbow. So, looky here. This is like probably an old-time pistol crossbow like here. The bolt release mechanism, the medieval crossbow was a trigger, and there was no fletching. They just basically shot a heavy bolt over a short range. It was more or less a catapult, piercing through chains of mail. But they called it a bolt. As the historians suggest, it took one complete surprise, a bolt from the blue, perhaps. All right, so medieval times, they shot them either out of a catapult or a crossbow. Choosing the right tip. Okay, arrow speed is not all to be consideration. Manufacturers play to the gallery of hype up facts. Facts is that the crossbow arrow, bolt or arrow. Okay, so we're going to talk just a little bit here about the weights of 4 sections of the bolts, namely the shaft, the fletch, and the nock, the broadhead or field tip. They make up the compound value of total mass. The range that is best suited for a bolt, you can use it decreased by the bolt manufacturers. So whatever your manufacturer says to use, way closer to the bottom limit will yield a faster flying, greater range, and sacrificing penetration. So 400 grain is a normal rating for most arrows. The crossbow may be rated to 350, but with a bolt weight of 500, this will be down to 315. So remember, the faster the arrow, the heavier the arrow, the faster, the slower it will go. How fast is your bow shoot? The total mass and distance traveled as consideration of kinetic energy. Whatever the energy remains should be sufficient for penetration. So they're basically, again, talking about short distances. I don't shoot anything over 40, even though I can probably go 50 or 60, but again, your kinetic energy and your speed is dropping off. A broadhead, by the way, requires more energy to penetrate. The material of choice is either aluminum or carbon. Kinetic energy of a bolt. The maximum kinetic energy of a bolt is 23 pounds for small game such as deer and antelope. Up to 43 pounds for larger prey. So they're saying basically, poundage-wise, you can shoot a deer with a 23-pound, 43 pounds of energy behind your crossbow, and an elk is something 43 pounds. So most crossbows are what? 180, 185, 150 range of poundage. So traveling for every 10 yards, 3 to 4% of the energy is expanded by the bolt. So if your bow delivers 80 pounds initially, you do the math. Okay, the math I am not going to get into because I have no idea about the math. Okay, but they do have here a little bit of a formula. Kinetic energy equals MB, whatever MB is. 420, 450, 250 mass of the arrow velocity equals feet per. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that because I have no idea. Um, the normal performance for smaller 2-inch vanes over the usual 4 to 5. So most crossbows, compound bows, use the 2-inch fletching, or we can use the 4 to 5-inch fletching. But you can go down to 2-inch, and I've seen some of those. But again, it's your front of center. The more front of center weight you get, the better velocity and accuracy you're going to get. Again, the knock comes in unlimited styles, mostly so it doesn't jump off the string. So whatever your crossbow again is, what your recommends is the ones you should be using. Okay, considerations regarding broadheads. Okay, expandable broadheads, or is the most uh, commonly used and they're widely available. The flight characteristics can be a little bit different. So, and again, the field tips and the broadheads have more susceptible to wind. Arrows or bolts or arrows, which is correct for your crossbow? Okay, so we shoot arrows in our compound bow, but what do we shoot in a crossbow? Bolts or arrows? Projectiles. Okay, both of them are projectiles. Okay, so again, we're going to reiterate some stuff here to maybe hopefully get more information here. Both Philip Brander, but better for 10 point, same thing, 20 to 22 inches. Okay. Okay, so Aaron McClab, who's a Sorcerer Outdoor Group representative for Barrett, agrees that the term arrows, but it's a sliding scale, they say here. Okay. So again, everybody's mostly saying that they're arrows, they're not bolts. Okay, so it just depends on who you're talking to at the time. So a crossbow arrow, okay, is made up of the shaft, the body of it. Okay, most common is arrows are made from aluminum or carbon, carbon fibers, and all that kind of good stuff, or even wood. I've seen some out there when I've been doing my research on arrows and looking for arrows for my crossbow. I've seen some out there that are arrows. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. The shafts are, they're very good. You can get 001 to 005 depending on the manufacturer. They're a little more stiffer than the spine on those are more stiffer than they are on a 22 to 30 or 32 inch arrow, and they're a little bit heavier. Okay. So if you look at them, they give a 50 GPI grains per inch. Some are 15. I got some that are 8. So again, it just depends on your arrow, your and what you have, what the manufacturer suggests for your crossbow. So you got to remember, whatever your manufacturer suggests is what you want to use. You can go outside the box and try different things, but that's going to be totally up to you. The knock is it plastic or aluminum. I've got both, but I don't use my aluminums because I want the lighter knock on the back. So the aluminum is a little more heavier than the lighter knock or even the plastic knocks that come with your arrows. Fletchings, again, they're like wings. They control the flight of your arrow because you want the arrows to stay true and straight as possible. And even though we know there is going to be an arc. That the arc is what's going to cause the arrow to fly straight. You know, and they come with three. Most of them come with 3 fletchings. Again, I've seen some with 4. So 4 fletchings. I've seen some with, you know, the 2-inch fletching. So again, whatever your manufacturer suggests. Uh, the field tips. Um, Again, they come in, you know, anywhere from 100 grain to 150 grain tips. Um, so again, it's whatever you prefer or whatever you're shooting, whatever your manufacturer suggests with your tip. Broadheads, again, broadheads come in several different types of. They come in fixed blade, removable blades, expandable blades. Okay, so again, whatever you prefer to shoot and what your manufacturer prefers you to shoot. I use the Thorn broadhead because they fly a little more to me like a field tip, even though they're a little bit longer than a field tip. But again, that's preference. Again, they come anywhere from 100 to 150 grain tips. But you always want to use your field tips for practicing. Okay, broadheads. You want to use those just for you know, when you want to go out and get ready to go out and shoot an animal. That's what you want to use for those. And again, that's where probably all 50 states and everywhere you go, you have to use some sort of broadhead. And again, depending on your state's requirements, is how big or small they need to be. So make sure you check your state requirements on those. Okay. So again, you got your modern day crossbow and you got your medieval crossbow, I guess you could say. So again, make sure you keep both field tips and broadheads, the ones you want, the same weight. So whatever you're shooting with your out of your arrow, make sure, or crossbow, make sure that they're evenly matched. And of course, you always want to try and match everything up as close as possible to get that flight. Okay. Never use an arrow or a shaft or whatever that's lighter than what your manufacturer suggests. So if your manufacturer says 300 grains, don't go try and find a 390 or 290 to be lower to get the speed. Okay, because you're more likely you're not going to get the speed that you're going to need either way you look at it. Crossbow packages, what you buy, you know, do your research on those and what you're going to get. Again, make sure nothing's lighter than what comes there. Okay, so as you can see here, here's an arrow. Yeah. How about that? Is that a bolt? Okay. So, with that said, let's see. Let's go some final thoughts here, and I'll come right back. Oh, where is it here? There we go. Alrighty. So let me bring myself back up here. And give me just one moment. Alrighty. Let's see. Where am I? Okay. Alright. I'm almost there. Oh, wrong one. Yeah, I'm using this OBS Studio, and I'm still trying to get used to it. Alright, where is it? You know, I'm almost there. Just okay. Alright, this isn't working here, so let me go to this. This. Okay. Yeah, sorry about this, guys, but everything sometimes just doesn't always work the way it's supposed to. Okay, there we are. So what's it called? Bolt or an arrow? My opinion and my choice, I prefer to call it a arrow. Okay, so a lot of states will allow you to use your crossbow during the compound bow season. So again, check with your state. If your state, like my state, I can use it only in certain times of the year, like for deer season, during any weapon type. So um, I want to eventually get my petition or whatever I got to do to uh, get the crossbows put into the compound bow season. But the one thing that people will tell you is that crossbows, people with crossbows, they figure it's going to double what you got. It's not going to double. Okay, most states, when you look at them, when they put it, let you do crossbows during the compound bow season, only went up 10%. Okay, even though it is on the rise for crossbows, more people are using crossbows, but it's not that big of a rise. Okay, so this is what I call a bolt. Okay, a bolt. This is a 6-inch bolt, which I shoot out of my handheld crossbow. Okay, it's just like any crossbow. You cock it, you put it in, and you shoot it. It's got just a field tip, but this one I got just for fun to shoot, and maybe one day we'll take it out and shoot it with you guys. Okay, so 16-inch arrow, 20-inch arrow. Okay, so is there a little bit of a difference? Yeah, you can see the difference there. And I shoot the 16-inch out of my Jaguar, because that's my Jaguar recommendations on that. So with that said, again, my choice is arrow, but hit me up in the comments below. Let me know what you think they should be called, bolt or arrow. Okay, so with that said, you guys have a great day. Keep your family safe, family first, and we'll see you on the flip side. All right. Okay.